Welcome everyone. In our past unit, we have learned how to calculate the GDP using the expenditure approach CIG X minus M. I would like to remind you also that GDP equals national income and equal total output. In this diagram, we are showing the world GDP divided by countries. As you can see, the biggest power in economic power in the world is the United States with about 20.5, nearly 20.5 trillion and about 24% of the world GDP. Then comes China at 13.6 trillion. These numbers actually was for 2018. So let us move and talk about another topic, which is how is investment financed? So why are we that interested or knowing how investment is financed? Because actually investment plays a very important part in the economic development. In order for countries to advance economically, to be richer, to move from developing country to developed countries, or to be more developed, it all depends on investment. Let me remind you what I do mean by investment. Investment means to increase the capital, to increase tools that is used to produce another goods and services, increasing machinery, factories, schools, universities, roads. So our author is reminding us that, guys, national income equals C plus S plus T. If you do remember, the whole story started by the households giving the firms the factors of production, and the firms in turn have given to the households the four sources of income, and we used as a household these incomes to make consumption, savings, and to pay taxes. So, and this equals the national income. And we know that the national income actually equals the GDP. We know now that the GDP is calculated using the expenditure approach, where the GDP, which will equal Y, will equal C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Now we are ready to know how is investment is financed. Question is, why do we care about investment and how it is financed? Because investment is one of the most important indicator in economic development. So in order for a country to develop, in order to a country to increase its production, to move from a developing country to a developed country or a further developing country, it has to make investment. How do we finance investment, which is the increase in capital? In order to understand this, our author is reminding us that the whole story started by the firms giving the national income to the households. And households actually use the national income to make consumption, savings, and taxation. So as you can see here, GDP equals C plus I plus G plus X minus M. National income will equal C plus S plus T, and we know that national income is also equal to the GDP. So I can actually equate the two equations, and I will end up with this equation where the C plus S plus T equals C I G X minus M. If we rearrange this equation, we will end up with this equation that shows us the way to actually finance investment. So investment will be financed through private savings plus T minus G, which is taxation minus government purchases, and this is actually the saving that's provided by the government, plus M minus X, which we can call it the rest of the world's savings. Both S and T minus G are called the national savings. These questions will tell us that if our national savings is not enough, we're gonna make a deficit. In our international trade means making more debts or international trade borrowing or international borrowing. So we will finance investment through private savings, government budget surplus, the difference between taxation and government purchases, and borrowing from the rest of the world, where X will all borrowing from the rest of the world, M minus X. Now we are done with our third unit. We know how the investment is financed. Let's go for our third stop, talking about the difference between nominal GDP and real GDP. See you there.